Neighbors, you've had a busy, I don't even want to call it an off season because it started COVID early.
Yeah.
But how has this time over the summer, from the spring to the summer, been for you with having a new baby, getting a baby married,
Yeah.
and then dealing with all of everything else?
Yeah, I'm one of those few people that are going to bash 2020, to death as being get this year over with. There's a lot of positive things as well. The walking the daughter down the aisle is a checklist thing for me. The birth of the new little, I got to certainly have a better chance of having a nose guard than a point guard. No question if you've seen the pictures. And then as hard as this year was with the way the season ended going into this, I honestly think I'm going to look back at the end of my career and think this is one of the best years we've ever had. I'm closer to all my players than I've ever been. I'm more in contact. I'm more in tune with any team that I've ever been with before. They always talk about how adversity brings you together, and adverse situations create long-lasting relationships. I think we're going to look back and see that that's true about this season and this off season.
And now, looking at this roster and excited to hear about that, which I find hard to believe you can be playing faster than you have before, but you have so many weapons now, which is going to allow you to stay fresher on the court. What kind of advantage does that give you guys?
I think it makes it incredibly hard to prepare for. I don't think you can focus on any one player, any one particular action, or taking something away. You got to focus on more than one or two or three. And to see the level of understanding in a Chelsea now, in our upperclassmen, in that it's okay if the ball doesn't find me this quarter or this half or this game. That used to be – now they know that over the course of 25 games – we can't control how that other defense tries to guard us. Make the right play, and it's going to come back. And there's so much confidence in each other. We have secretly snuck together the top 7 or 8 a few times, and their efficiencies, we don't turn it over hardly ever, and their shooting is just – it's been mind-blowing. It really has. I'm not lying to you. These numbers – you've got to shoot above 50% in live action games to even be in our top 8. It blows your mind some days with practice. I know that there's going to be nights we don't score well enough, but to me it gives us a chance to beat anybody we could potentially play. You catch us, even if a Baylor, South Carolina, UConn, anybody that's going to be in the top 5, if we catch them on their B night, then we got a puncher's chance. And that's why we choose to play that way. I don't think we could beat those guys with a walk it up, pound it inside style, or possession type game and win with defense. This is the way that we have to do it. And with this particular team, it's happening. I know it's hard to understand and grasp, but to see it happening, it's just a lot of fun right now. Having Jalen back is huge. And then the seamless addition of how quickly Slocum came in and established herself as a teammate, not as a player, as a teammate first and foremost. She's savvy. She's a veteran. She knew what was going to be most important, and she gained the respect of everybody on this campus from the time she stepped on it till now, for sure.
And then this is the last question I have is having Kelsey Plum come in as your GA. How much does that benefit? What does she bring? How does she help you?
Well, my phone doesn't ring near as much anymore because they're all calling her to talk to her about things, which is good. It's funny. She'll say the exact same thing I've been saying to a player for the last 2 years, but all of a sudden they listen to her. She's got so much more ability to explain to them in their terms what's important. I think she's, along with our strength and conditioning coaches, part of the reason our kids are in the shape that they in. She's been talking about treating your body like a pro and what that means and looks like and feels like, and recovery, the importance of recovery, which, by the way, was her worst trait as a player, is recovery. And it's funny to hear her now talking about it. But, she just gives you a sense of that she's doing it, not has done it. Pauline and Chantel can give it the has done it. I can give the talk of I've seen it done, but she can give the talk of this is what I am doing in the rehab of this Achilles. And, her perspective is unique, and it's in a very, very short period of time made a tremendous impact.
Great. Thank you.
You got it.
Jason, do you have anything for Coach?
Hey, Coach, I just wonder what the challenge has been like trying to put together this schedule and where you guys are right now with the schedule and what you hope to get done here with it.
The challenge has been trying to guess at what's going to be important in March, because that's all it is. It's going to be a straight guess. We obviously have a chance to have a really special team, and it's our challenge to prepare them for March. So balancing the COVID-related protocols, the budgetary protocols with, 20 years of experience of trying to play the best RPI schedule that can't be near the consideration when you got to bring those other variables in. So it's been a puzzle, which I like puzzles, so it's been fine. We do have it done. We're waiting just to release it at the right time. I think it's a great combination of COVID protocol sensitive, financially, we're a good steward of our budget, and then also be ready, for what the NCAA tournament could possibly look like. And the eye test and the paper test, I think we're going to hold up fine. We've got Baylor coming in. I guess they're technically still the defending national champions. And then we're going to play some regional games, and we're playing in a tournament that's going to give us an opportunity to play at least 2 or 3 other high-level programs out of our 9 preseason. And then, when you sit down and you start looking at who we play twice in the league and where we play, we will be on the road at the top of our league. So our schedule is going to be extremely challenging. But, it was a puzzle. We got it done. Coach Schaefer does a great job on it. We had we did a lot of work on the forefront of it. So once we got the rules of the game, once the rules of engagement were established, we got to put together pretty quick without any problem.
This senior-laden team, how much does that help you through what you're having to navigate through right now, having that group of seniors with that experience?
I don't know how we would have done it without them. Just the way they've been so calm under chaos. We've been practicing that for 3 years, trying to be calm during chaotic situations, and just to hear some of their words, to hear Chelsea Dungy call a foul on herself. I'm going to talk about that because y'all don't understand how unprecedented that is. But that's a really good example of where they've all come. The way they've handled the social injustice piece, the way they've handled every single thing that comes down their pipe. I've learned a lot from them. I've probably learned more from them than I've taught them in these instances. So if it would have been, and all I have to do is look right now out the window, Muss has got 7 freshmen. He's on the opposite side of this deal. I can sit back and let these team players lead our team. And so we're on opposite sides of the spectrum. And I know how lucky we are that it fell the time that it did to have that. It's not the number of, it's the quality of leaders. I mean, there's not just one player. The hardest decision I've got to have is when they tell us this year we can only send one captain out to the handshake line. We may just have a lottery. I cannot even begin to decide what criteria you would use to split the hairs on how our people lead. And I don't care that Michaela Daniels is just a sophomore. She's just as much a leader as they are. So we've got a lot of those kids in the locker room, and they have made this challenge a great experience learning for me and for them.
Kirsty, go ahead. Mike, to go back, you've just
Yeah.
brought up Michaela, and you raved about her a year ago. Now adding Destiny. A lot of times it was IT coming in for Michaela. You didn't play them a lot together. Might we see those two on the court together, or kind of how do you plan on using both of them?
Yeah, if not, somebody check because I've got COVID-related issues or something going on if I don't get them on the court together. We've got more quality depth. Riley Lingerman can play the point. Mason can play the point. We didn't play them because of foul trouble and together a lot. Destiny and Michaela, you know, you're asking me for a starting lineup, which I don't have, but if we did have one tomorrow, they'd both be in the starting lineup. Everybody said, you know, who's going to play the point? We don't have a point guard. That's what I tell everybody all the time. We don't have a point guard, so it's irrelevant who plays it. I want to have 5 point guards on the floor if we can. You know, we had that when Chantel was our 5 player at Washington. We really had 5 point guards. So I don't foresee any issue, especially they won't be roommates. I can guarantee you that because I don't want to lose both of them. You know, they're going to sit on the opposite ends of the plane. They're going to sit on the opposite ends of the bus. They're going to eat in their rooms. They won't be roommates because if we lost them both, we would obviously, you know, be missing a huge part of what we do. They can coexist together. They have coexisted together. And Michaela is so much more comfortable in knowing what we want now. You know, I think you can see those kids on the floor for 30-plus minutes together and then another 4 to 5 separate from each other to give them a rest.
And so my final question, Mike, is only 9 games in the preseason for you. How does that change as far as the full implementation of your offensive system compared to years past, or is it all going to be thrown out there to them?
We could play tomorrow. I mean, this group has grasped it that quickly, and it's all we've worked on. So knowing that was going to be the case, and to Carolyn's point earlier, we felt like very, very early on that defense was going to be a challenge. So that's why we're spending a lot of time on it now that we have our 20-hour weeks. But I don't foresee – in fact, we've added some layers and we've stripped a couple away. I think it's the stripping away of the stuff that when you can start to strip away things and eliminate things, then you get better at what you were doing. And that's what I've seen out of this team. And we can throw it inside. Destiny McGee and Destiny Oberg on the block are a viable option now. We didn't do a lot of post-entry passing. We have drills now where we do that because if you put 4 shooters around Destiny McGee or Destiny Oberg, then it's a layup city. Get to the foul line, and they both shoot incredible from the free throw line. So that'll be a piece I think that will be new. I hope makes us better. I hope makes us even harder to defend. But just the level right now, the level of understanding is what I think is different for us than any team I've had, especially here. They're thinking it before I'm thinking it at this point. I don't know, Carolyn, I don't know if you remember, you were at the practice when we came to Lexington with that Washington team for a practice, the day in between the games. And you hollered at me and said, "Hey, can I get you before we start practice?" And I went, "We've been practicing for the last 20 minutes." And I hadn't said a word, but they had been practicing. This is that team. This team does not need me there. They don't need coach. They don't need our coaches there. They will practice. They will do things. We'll walk in the gym. They'll have a shooting contest going. And you don't want to go to the left on the left end. You better be ready to bring it. I don't know what they're playing for, if it's meal money or what they're doing, but it's serious. 2 shoes. I don't know what's going on in there. I don't ask, but it is on, and you better just take a left if you're not interested in competing that day. Because if you go to the right, it's game on.
Nate, you got anything for Coach?
Yeah. Just about Eaton, how has she adjusted? Also, just the weight loss. Do you notice a difference in Chelsea's play compared to this time last year?
She has got her quickness back, her first step back. She's got her explosiveness back. I don't have a clue. When I got into coaching basketball, I got to where I didn't care about a number on a weight scale. So I don't always know that. You notice it in the speed and the explosion. and she's back to having that ability to make you wrong. If you close out short, she's by you. She's getting fouled every time. So, and she talks about it openly. So I think y'all can talk to that with her, but it's noticeable, not only in how she plays individually, but how you have to defend us as a team. And I think it's led to her happiness. I think she's just she's in a really good place, like she talks about. And I'm proud of how our whole team and our whole program supported her and stayed, we kept calling her number no matter what, even when it was hard to explode by people. But I think that's what when she talks about how she's changed, I think that's going to be one of the really cool stories that continues to evolve over the season.
Seth, do you have anything for Coach? I'm sorry, Nate, go ahead.
Just Ilana Eaton, how is she doing?
Eaton's dealing with a little bit of an injury right now. We'll have more on that soon, but she is one of those people in that shooting percentage that's in the middle of the pack. She's in the top 5. Her style, everything that we brought her here to do, she's done remarkably well. We'll know more in a couple of weeks with her with relation to her injury, and that will affect. It'll obviously affect her playing time. It'll obviously affect our rotations, all of that stuff once we know exactly where we're headed.
Thanks.
You got
Seth,
it.
go ahead.
Coach, you mentioned Coach Muss across the hall, and he's pretty renowned for having the transfer portal and getting and utilizing that. But if you look at your team, you have a lot of key players that have come and transferred in. What's your strategy on the transfer portal?
It's always been to fill necessary needs. And I think our timing was perfect when it came to that. We had a very depleted roster. The first meeting I walked into had 5 returners in it, so we knew we were going to have to build. We actually had 2 go into the transfer portal this year, which was the first time we've ever really dealt with that. So it's all about finding the right person for your locker room. And then opportunity. To me, you can't bring somebody new into your program that's not going to make an immediate impact. That's what you do in recruiting through the scholastic, through high school kids, the class kids. And I think we've built a pretty good blueprint for how to immerse a transfer in. And I think if you bring a transfer in, it's got to be a Dungy. It's got to be a Slocum. It's got to be a Ramirez. It's got to be one that I always say it's got to be one my daughter can pick out of the lineup. My daughter was not a basketball player, and I used to take her recruiting with me. If she couldn't tell who we were in the gym to see, we were in the wrong gym. So if my daughter can't walk in and go, oh, is that Slocum? Oh. And that if she doesn't raise her eyebrows and go, oh, wow, then I've made a mistake in bringing somebody in. So I only think you use it. And I think we all fall into different categories when it comes to that. But you see these kids a lot of times. I think with transfers, depending on why they've transferred, Seth, that's what I always get to. Why are they leaving? The why they're leaving has to really be that it was a style of play change. It's got to be something that fits with what we're doing. And so far we've been very fortunate that every player that's taken a look at us has done their research, and then it's on us to make sure that that evidence is there once they get there. Like Slocum talked about, everybody told her, oh, they play fast, they play fast. To hear her say, well, I didn't know it was going to be this fast, that makes me know that the people telling our story are doing it right.
And then is this something that you see your program continuing to utilize on down the road?
I think you're going to have to. I think with the potential of the immediate eligibility coming through here really quick, the potential of if winter sports are offering this year back like they are in the fall sports and in the spring sports, I think burying your head to the transfer portal would be a mistake. I think it's going to happen both directions. I think I've got to come to grips with that there's going to be a little bit of both ways. I've always did everything I can do to keep our players our players. I think there's going to have to be a change in that for me to understand that it may be a better situation to let somebody go. So it'll be something I think you continue not only to see. I think it's going to get even bigger, Seth. I think there's going to be more attention played. It's impacted our recruiting board. I can tell you that. Like, I think for a Scholastic senior, there's a lot of coaches, and I'm one of them, that at least has the conversation of, would we rather have that scholarship for a potential transfer, or would we rather take an incoming freshman that we're not sure can come in and immediately compete for playing time? So I think you start to look at this in a puzzle format. I don't think you can just, throw a big net out and see who swims into your net and take them. I think you got to use a fishing pole and get people that are exactly right for what you're trying to do. But I think it'll be fun for you. If you're following that, I'd tell you to keep on it, because I think you're going to see a big change when it comes to all programs.
Paul, do you have anything for Coach?
Yeah, sorry, I had obviously had some technical issues.
All good,
sorry about
all good.
that. But but Mike, I would ask this. Everybody's kind of gone around this. With Destiny added to your mix, how is your team different, and how is it maybe the same as it's been? Can you just talk about that a little?
Everybody, it's going to be natural to just slide her into Tolfree's role, okay? And you can't do that. If anybody, and not very many people went to Idaho to watch this kid play in high school. I can tell you, because I went every week. I knew the flight attendants from Seattle to Boise. I watched that kid literally play every game for 3 summers, including her games in Russia. She looks like she did in high school. She's playing with a freedom, and she can just do things that very, very, very few people can do. With her size and speed and her strength now, with her added strength and conditioning, she's a really rare combination. And she's made every single person on our court better. And that's the sign of a great player. That's why she's played in 3 straight Sweet 16s. It's why she's been, I think, the leading scorer on each of those teams. And she's not a volume kid. You look, she had over 100 assists last year in an Oregon State team that played 60 possessions a game. So you'll see it. And not only will you see it, Paul, you'll hear it. It just sounds different when she drives the lane. It just sounds different. And it's one of those it things. None of us have ever been able to define it. Carolyn as a coach, and Christy and Dre as a player, we all know those players that have it. And they know. Hey, our players figured it out really quick. They were like, wow, coach. There was zero resistance or resentment from her stepping on this campus, which is uber rare in today's college sports world. But it's a testament to Desi and who she is and how she was. But she broke the bench press record in our very first weightlifting opportunity. She bench pressed 150 pounds 27 times, which our strength and conditioning coach, who was at Ohio State, said he's only that John Tell Lavender was the only person he's ever seen do more. She's mature. She's happy. She knows that she's got an opportunity to really wrap this thing up in a cool way. But the speed, size, strength combination is really rare.
Thanks,
Andre,
Coach.
you want to go ahead and close us out here?
Uh-oh.
You're muted.
I didn't think it would be you you're on mute. Let me get my bingo card out.
No. What'd you say?
I had to get my bingo card out on who was on mute.
No.
You've already got 2 of them. Pet walk through the back. You got that one. Okay.
Yeah. I've got 2 cats, and if I put them out in the door, they're going to meow the whole time. So I'm doing everyone a favor. They're just going to invade the space.
I love it.
Coach, you talked about Eaton with a possible injury. I was watching some of y'all's videos. I saw Amber Ramirez in sweats a couple times during workouts. What's her status? What kind of was that over there?
We took a very cautious preventative deal with something that we felt like could be worse if we didn't give her some time.
Got it. Okay.
And of all the people that can handle time off, it's her. So
Okay.
I adopted, and I think I talked to several of y'all about this, we didn't really get serious about basketball till I saw football go airborne. We didn't. I mean, it was a lot of just checking in on, doing what you're doing, working on what we're already good at. But once I saw football kicked off, then we got a little bit more. So I think it was a little bit of some of that stuff, our ramp ups. She's had this little nagging deal for a number of years, and it became one of these, hey, the last thing you know what we're going to do. Stay in good cardio shape, and she has. But, yeah, she's been about 2 weeks out with us. She hadn't been out with us for about a week. And then the last one, just, because practice will be starting, Taylor Thomas won't be practicing for the first couple of weeks either. But it's not a season. We have nobody other than Eaton at this point that's got a season concerning issue. Eaton's will continue to monitor and see what happens. But everybody else with the November 25th, we would expect to be available.
Got it. And then you talked a lot about, obviously, Michaela Daniels last season, how big she was, how impactful she was as a freshman. Of the freshmen that you have, the true freshmen, can any of them make an immediate impact?
I think all three of them will, because they give us quality depth. They will all three have a role and a time in a game to which you'll see them, especially in the non-conference, see where they're at. And then the last thing that we had, Marquisha Davis has made that freshman to sophomore jump. I would compare that jump that she's made very much what Kia did for us last year, how she went from a very limited role as a freshman into a very dynamic role as a sophomore. I think Marquisha could be in that mix as well when you're talking about people we didn't see a lot last year. But Desi McGee, I think, is the one that everybody will immediately be drawn to. Because of the unexpectedness that she brings. I think when you make an initial snap judgment, the place where you end up will be very different than where you started. She impacts our game. She is as good a passer. She's not a Chantel Osahar, but she is very close. And her ability to play off the ball screen and off of give and goes, and when you have upperclassmen ducking when she catches the ball on the block, they're just bailing out of there. It looks like, they're like, just score. I just don't want to get hurt. She gives us something we haven't had, So I think of the freshmen, Riley Langerman will be one of those people that I called her a fungus kid during her recruiting process, and it's a term of endearment that she just grows on you. The more you see her, she's just like, whoa, she's in this play. Whoa, she's done this, she's done that. So we're expecting all three of them to compete. I would go back again. I know I've talked a lot about the Washington team, but this group of freshmen really reminds me of the group of Ari McDonald, Amber Melgoza, and Maylani Henson that came into Washington the year we went to the Final Four. Ari played, they played some in that next year. Okay. Ari didn't start at all. She played late in the year. Melgoza hardly got off the bench, and Maylani played very, very little. But they were playing with this group of upperclassmen. And then when the upperclassmen left, Ari McDonald's going to be a two-time All-American. Amber Melgoza led the Pac-12 in scoring. Maylani Henson was a 3-year starter. I think that's what this group does. If this group would have come into this place 2 years ago, they would all three be starting. And there's a good chance that none of them will. And there's a good chance that there will be nights when you won't see them very much. But that doesn't mean that they're not good. It doesn't mean that they're not getting better. And they knew that. That's what's so great about them. They knew coming in exactly what was going to be expected out of them. So, but you will notice them all in some shape, form, or fashion, I think.
And with
depending on Alana's injury.
With expectations as far as Michaela Daniels goes, is there more of an expectation on her to look to score, or do you still have so many pieces around her that she still kind of has that facilitating mindset?
She's still going to be opportunistic. If Oral Roberts decided not to guard her, she made 7 threes. Here's the thing, and you know this as well. If you don't put your fastest kid on her, she's going to shoot a bunch of layups. Yeah. Okay. Well, so now who guards Slocum now? Your second fastest kid? Okay. Well, if that means now Dungy or Ramirez are going to get your third and fourth best perimeter ball defender. And that's a hard matchup. It's how she starts it out and how in control and she just doesn't get herself into bad situations. She makes great decisions, and then she's opportunistic with her scoring. I think you'll see her numbers go up because she's going to play more minutes. But I don't know that she's necessarily going to be any more effective than she was last year. She was tremendous. She'll have a hard time overcoming her efficiencies, but she has. I'm telling you, she's our second highest 3-point shooter right now. Number 2 behind Ramirez. Ramirez is shooting 59.7% in live game activity, and she's 57.4 live.
And then
now, that's going against us. There's not a lot of defense being played. I'll be the first to admit. We have been playing COVID socially distancing defense for years. we are the most prepared for that. We have not had anybody in trace, and we've practiced. So they can't get us from being 6 feet close enough to somebody for very long. That'll change today.
Last one for me, Coach. You're always trying to develop yourself as a coach, reading. You talked to me a lot last season about things that you do to try and learn how to connect to your players. What did you read? Did you do? How did you develop as a coach this offseason?
We started a Zoom room called The Zoom Where It Happens. It's a play on the Hamilton song, The Room Where It Happens. But it was The Zoom Where It Happens. And we started free rolling authors, just reaching out to them. And like, I'll plug Annie Duke. She's got a new book out. She's a great poker player. If you hadn't read any of Annie's stuff, she has Thinking in Bets. We just sent her an email. She said, yeah, I'd love to get on there. And I had it ended up, we capped it at 100. Men's and women's basketball coaches, people from Walmart, Tyson, Nike, George's Chicken, you name it, leaders in the hospital, the bank, local and nationwide. And we started doing it every Thursday. And we had Josh Metcalf and Lucas Jaden. We had Annie Duke. We had Todd Henry. And word kind of started to spread that we got this little group together. And it kind of became if you don't show up, you lose your seat and you miss out. So we had a waiting list, and we did that. We tried to surround ourselves with a lot of people smarter than us, and I learned a lot. I mean, it helped me. It helped a lot of others, I hope, but it helped us stay connected because I miss those bars and hotel lobby bars and sitting around during recruiting and sitting around at the Final Four. I did a lot of learning during those, and I missed out on that this summer. I was sit and listen to, Gino and Doug Bruno talk about things, and I just sit there like a fly on the wall or a fly on Biden's head, I guess is what we're saying these days, just listening. And we missed out on that. So we had these listening groups, and it was a lot of fun. We spent a lot of time, and we've made a lot of really, really cool relationships with some of these authors and leading speakers that were willing to just jump on a Zoom with. Started out 7 of us, and then it went 7 to 27 to 50 till we had a waiting list of 100. So
is that just staff or all coaches?
No, like people like Adia was on there, McGuff. People y'all see me hanging around with, Buzz Williams was the guy that was in, some of the men's side coaches, TJ Otzelberger, just people I've come across. And then word got out. We had, Walmart executives, and Nike and Tyson, just leaders, anybody that was a leader that started to hear about it. They started wanting in the club. And first of all, they had to know what the Zoom Where It Happens meant. They had to understand the reference, and then you had to show up.
Got it. Thanks, Coach.
We did that, and then the last piece, having a child born during this has been a really good thing because it's really grounded me to knowing that there's a lot of things going on that's more important than me having the right offense or the right defense and stuff like that. So that's staying connected to our kids that I talked about earlier. I feel like a lot better coach than I've ever been because I feel like I know more about them. And they know I care about them, I think, more than ever. And it's been a good thing for me to learn that even after this COVID that I've got to continue to do that, because I think that's what's had a large part to do. We talk about adding Slocum. We talk about everybody being in better shape. But I do not discount for 1 second the fact that we're closer off the court to being why we're better on the court.
All right, everybody. That will go ahead and wrap up this call.
I got to jump in. I thought the offense is art and defense is science was gold, but a fungus kid and COVID defense are pretty strong too. Just sprinkle a few of those out to the remainder of the. Don't use those all up before.
Well, Lewis Horton, the legendary JUCO coach, is responsible for the defense's art and offense's art and defense's science line. That one's him. So I'll give Coach Horton credit, or he'll be mad at me. But we'll save a few of those for the luncheons, Brett. And,
save a few.
We'll save a few for the luncheons, and it'll be fun.